private prisons. Here's what Krayzie Bone had to say.
The companies we worked for had invested millions into the building of privately owned prisons, and that our positions of influence in the music industry would actually impact the profitability of these investments. Wow. He says, I remember many of us in the group immediately looking at each other in awe and confusion. At the same time, I didn't know what a private prison was, but I wasn't the only one. Sure enough, someone asked what these prisons were and what any of this had to do with music. We were told that these prisons were built by privately owned companies who received funding from the government based on the number of inmates. Mm-hmm. The more inmates, the more the government would pay these prisons. Mm-hmm.
A mysterious man left an interesting letter on a hip-hop blog titled The Meeting That Changed Hip-Hop. The man claimed to be a former employee of a major record label. His letter exposed the record labels investing into private prisons and them subsequently promoting criminal activity to fill up the prisons and their pockets. This mystery man came from Europe in the 80s and quickly established himself in the music business. Early 1991, he was invited to a meeting with a friend at a private residence on the outskirts of LA. There was 20 to 30 people there, some he recognized and a few that he didn't. They were there to discuss the future of music, the future of the music industry. At the meeting, there was this small group of unfamiliar men who seemed to be isolated amongst themselves. The writer points out that these men seemed different, and they were clearly not from the music industry. Everyone was talking with each other amongst themselves, waiting for the meeting to begin. They were interrupted and asked to sign an NDA before they continued. An NDA is a non-disclosure agreement, meaning that they could not tell anyone about the meeting or what is discussed. This caused some of the people to leave, which they did without issue. The others stayed there and signed the NDA out of curiosity, but it made them ask each other, what could this meeting be about that's so serious? One of the men from the unfamiliar group stood up and collected the NDA papers before giving the floor to the main speaker, the host, who only introduced himself by first name. The host began the meeting by praising everyone for their success in the music industry. He then congratulated them for being selected to become decision makers in confusion. It was 1991, so most people had not heard of a privately owned prison. Even more, they were confused as to how music and their positions in the industry, what it had to do with a private prison. The host began to elaborate further. He told them that these prisons were built by privately owned companies who received funding from the government based on the number of inmates that they held, meaning the more inmates they have, the more money they make. Since the prisons are privately owned, when they would become publicly traded, they could buy shares and profit also. The host can see the confusion in the group after saying so he begins to make the connection even more clear. He said since their employers became silent investors in the prison business, it was now the record label's best interest to keep the prisons full. Their job as decision makers in the music industry is to market music which promotes criminal behavior, rap music being the main choice. Also, since they are employees, they could buy personal stocks in the prisons. These statements caused a shocked silence to consume the room. They were stunned. Even more, they were confused as if to what they were actually hearing. The silence in the room was broken when one of the men yelled, "Are you effing serious?" Quickly, two of the unfamiliar men sprang into action and snatched up the man who yelled, and they attempted to escort him out of the building. A few others got involved to break it up, including the mysterious writer, so all 4 of them were promptly escorted off the premises. As they were leaving, the man warned them one last time, "Remember, you signed an NDA."
Nominated rapper Nipsey Hussle shot and killed
Chicago rapper King Von.
Musician named Mo 3 was approached by the killer on I-35.
Incoming rapper is shot dead. 20-year-old XXXTentacion.
Young Dolph is dead after a shooting in his hometown of Memphis.
Modern rap music is targeted towards every negative aspect of the culture, whether that be drugs, violence, gangs, and promotion of the occult. Every music video has guns, lean, and every song contains lyrics about murder. Drill music has contributed to hundreds of deaths through gang violence in Chicago alone. They make songs disrespecting the dead, bragging about how they murdered rival gang members. They even go as far as desecrating the graves of rivals and taunting the victim's family through music videos. These rappers had the power to influence generations with their music, and this is what they choose to promote. The youth has been corrupted, taught to glorify gang culture, selling drugs, and murder. The music industry targets women also. They use people like Meg Thee Stallion and Cardi B to promote sexual wickedness to the next generation of women. They are taught to sexualize themselves, be unfaithful, and they are taught to be the